So he'd been doing this until he started introducing these financial products. So what he positions in the earnings call is that strategy is becoming even something more than an actual Bitcoin treasury company, but instead is actually being a financial products company, specifically financial products that deal with Bitcoin. And I didn't tweet this one out, but I have it set up here, and I don't know if I could share my screen or not. I could. Let me see.
You can just pop it in the private chat, and I'm going to bring it up, and you can.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Let me put private chat. Let's see if I can just drag and drop this here. No, it doesn't.
Just copy paste the URL into that.
It's not a URL. I just have the actual, like, I took a screenshot during it. But anyhow, so we know, I'll just verbalize it. They started with these at the market offerings of these new products. And what the earnings call made very clear was that each of these products serve a very, very specific purpose. So for instance, in my wife's Roth, because we have two Roths, so I try and diversify between the two. The MicroStrategy is in mine, but what I bought in hers was the first one that was launched, which is called Strike. Now, Strike pays about an 8% quarterly dividend, and it is a convertible note, which means for every 10 Strike you have, because it's worth 0.1 MicroStrategy shares, you could convert that to MicroStrategy. Now, you wouldn't want to do that right now, for instance, because Strike obviously it's a massive premium. It's $100 a share. So like if you had, that's $1,000 versus MicroStrategy, which is trading at $400. So that one, and what's interesting about this chart, and I will post this later, so you guys are actually, you know where I could drop it for those who are already in the Telegram. Let me just put it in there so you guys can see. Brett's sharing his tattoos. This is what I'm sharing so you guys can see it. So Strike was the first one to launch, right? And it's on an XY axis where it shows the volatility versus the seniority and how these things get paid out. So you'll notice the brand new one, Stretch, which is the variable. This is sort of like a Bitcoin bond. And this, they're going to try and keep it hovering between $99 and $101. And then it's going to actually have this dividend that's constantly paying out. And when the price gets too high, they'll reduce the dividend. And so they're trying to always just keep it in lockstep. Now, this one is very high on the seniority list, but it's low on the volatility because they're trying to do some financial engineering to keep the price stable. Then, of course, you have Strife, which is the one that's a long duration. The Stride is the shorter duration. So they really thought about different market participants. Like, who would want a long duration versus a short duration? Who would want the convertibility versus just saying like, you know what, I'm okay with that. Now, the other thing too, you got to remember, none of these give you voting rights because they're all preferred stock. And this is something that's true across any preferred stock. You do not get voting rights the way that you would if you had MicroStrategy shares. Now, I thought what was most interesting in the earnings call, however, is that they completely allayed the fear that I've had insofar as they kept issuing these various, before the financial products, they were issuing the MicroStrategy shares. Now they flat out told you, they laid out the playbook, and they basically are talking about MNAV so that's basically the position relative of how much Bitcoin they own versus the share price. And within certain windows, they will issue more shares. So right now, when it's below 2.5 MNAV, there's like, sorry, we're not issuing any more shares. If you want MicroStrategy, you got to buy it on the open market. So it's going to introduce buy pressure to the share itself. Once it gets above $600, but below $1,000 in share price, based again on the numbers, like if we took a picture and captured that in time yesterday, at Bitcoin being, I think as of date, they had it at 118,000. So they said between $600 and $1,000, they will strategically issue shares. And that puts the MNAV, I think, under 4. They will strategically issue shares so they can acquire more Bitcoin. If MicroStrategy goes above $1,000, they're basically like, game on. We are going to issue. So what they're now even doing is treating the actual equity itself as a vehicle to continue to accumulate Bitcoin. And it's all just mathematical engineering to kind of figure out like, what are the various points at which it is beneficial for the shareholder to be somewhat diluted, knowing that we're going to be acquiring even more Bitcoin. And it was just, like I said, that tweet at that point, I was just sitting there like dumbfounded. Like, I couldn't believe the level of thought that went into this. And I'm not one to believe the hype, but like they were saying, this earnings call is going to change the way that people look at MicroStrategy forever. Oh, and that's the other thing too, Legendary. The comps that they were showing in terms of the amount of money that they're making versus other competitors that have, like, they're roughly worth $120 billion as a company, right? MicroStrategy.
Yeah. But
their numbers, they were like the eighth or ninth biggest company in terms of just like the profit that they're producing at that 25 billion. They said that within the next, it's quite conceivable that by the end of the year, they'll be in the top 5. And they think that within certainly the next 5 years, they will probably overtake even Berkshire Hathaway, which was a giant, a monster, even compared to Microsoft, Amazon, all the other companies that were ahead of it in terms of like the money that it actually consumes, holds, whatever. It was even above that. They think within like 5 to 10 years, they'll probably even surpass Berkshire Hathaway, which is insane. So now I'm in this weird position where it's like, do I ever sell any MicroStrategy again? Like, I don't know. Like, and I worry even less that we've had this ongoing conversations about worrying about treasury companies. I don't worry about MicroStrategy at all now.